Here today at the Reagan Library, former presidents, first ladies, family and friends gathered to say goodbye to Nancy Reagan, one half of a presidential partnership that led America 3 decades ago. I'm so pleased to be joined tonight at the anchor desk by Nancy Brinker, the founder of the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure, the former American ambassador to the Republic of Hungary, and a friend of Nancy Reagan. It is so good to have you back, Madam Ambassador. And
Thank you, J.D. It's good to be back, and today is a special day, I think, for all of us, a moment to remember Mrs. Reagan and the contribution she made.
When you think of Nancy Reagan, what is your strongest memory of her?
Well, you know, actually a couple. She was an amazing part of the quintessential power couple. You know, she set a standard for women and of her time, and for women trying to have more platforms in their life in whatever they were doing. And Nancy had, she was absolutely a practitioner of perfection. She really studied to make details appropriate. She was concerning, and I think she grew so much in her role as First Lady. And she was very helpful to us in the breast cancer movement, J.D., because when she was diagnosed with her disease, she decided, she was very decisive. She was an empowered patient, she was an informed patient, and she made a decision that to a lot of women didn't make sense, because she just said, I'm going to have a mastectomy and I don't want to have to deal with it anymore, and I've got my role with my husband. And a lot of people said, oh, but she could have had this. But you know what? She knew what she wanted. She was a woman who was very decisive. I was proud to know her, and she was a very good friend.
You know, you spoke about her role as First Lady. You spoke about how decisive she was. Nancy, we had Michael Reagan on Newsmax TV the other night as part of our election coverage. He joined us by phone from Thailand on his way to the USS Ronald Reagan, where he's conducting a memorial remembrance of the former First Lady. Let's listen to what Michael had to say about Nancy Reagan.
Nancy was such a great helpmate to him. You know, when you decide to run for office, if you don't have your spouse, 110% in your corner that's going to be there. And what was great about Nancy is not only was she a great helpmate and spouse to my father in that way and a great First Lady, but she was that last person to lay her head on the pillow at night that could have the ear of the President of the United States and try to protect him from people out there who are trying to use him for their own good.
Protect him from people trying to use him. That is an awesome responsibility.
Yes.
How important was she in that role?
She was very important. You know, I was very lucky to have been invited to a few of their White House dinners. And honestly, the precision and the forethought of seating alone and the movement, the cadence of the evening, it was, she had obviously masterminded all of it, and yet she did it with such grace and style. But it is a very intense job and role, and she was at it all day long and all night long every day.
Only about a minute remains, Nancy. Intensity. She had it in her role as First Lady, but the Reagans had it for each other in terms of their love affair.
Yes, and they actually, their happiest moments, and I think their children have said this, were when they were having dinner themselves on tray tables upstairs in front of the TV. They really loved each other. They had a very special bond. It wasn't like one was trying to please the other. They were an incredible couple.
And when you would see them together, how animated did it make the president to be in her presence?
He always seemed to be looking, he always seemed to know where she was, all the time, even if she was sitting behind him in a way. And it just seemed to give him the power that he needed, the full 100% wattage that was Ronald Reagan, that we all adored.
About 30 seconds remain, and there are always critics, and they pointed out that both President and Mrs. Reagan were actors, but they would talk about the gaze she would get when he'd be speaking. That was not an affectation, was it?
Oh, she looked at him like that all the time, even when the cameras weren't on. I saw it myself. I thought, someone said to me, she gazes at him so, and I said, she's not gazing, she is one with him. That is, she is thinking, she's projecting, she's quite an amazing woman. A lot to be learned from Nancy Reagan's life.
Nancy Brinker, thank you so much. You were supposed to go to California, but we're so glad you came here to spend time with us instead.
It's so wonderful to be with you, and I'm so sad I couldn't get there physically, but in prayer and thought, I was there all the time.
And part of today's service, Love letters between the Reagans, read by former Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. We'll listen to that and be right back after this.
Asked, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. For me, there is no way to count. I love the whole gang of you. Mummy, First Lady, the sentimental you, the fun you, and the pee-wee powerhouse you. Merry Christmas, you all. With all my love, lucky me.